What's up, y'all? Alvin here, and this is Question and Answer Season 3, Episode 4. And this is where I'm gonna fish the rest of my life.
I tell the good jokes.
All right, so let's get into it. Once again, tons of great questions. Not going to be able to answer them all. Not going to be able to answer them all. So we will definitely have another episode next week. Just want to say thanks again for you guys playing along with me. All right, before we answer the questions though, I just want to let you know if you have not signed up for the email list and subscribed to the channel, it's not too late to potentially win that free trip. I got over 20,000 subscribers easily with you guys' help, and I want to give somebody a trip. So to win the trip, all you got to do is subscribe to the channel and subscribe to my email list. Sign up for my email list. There's a link in the description for the email list. You know how to subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I'm going to give somebody a free fishing trip. We can go bass fishing, we can go red fishing, whatever you want to do. Just we'll work it out together, make it happen as a way to say thanks to everybody out there. All right, so let's get into the questions. First up is Baba Goes Outside, and Baba wants to know who's the guy at the start of the intro shouting Alvin Dedeaux. So that is my old buddy Knox Cronenberg. He's a fixture on the Austin fly fishing scene, and I've actually had a bunch of questions where people said, what is he saying? So I went and listened to it again, and this is what Knox is saying at the beginning of my videos. All right, so this was outside the fly fishing film tour one year on Congress Street, downtown Austin, people everywhere. I'm playing with my camera. Knox just runs up and he says, Alvin here, all water guides, catch some fish with this man. So now you know, everybody knows. I've been asked that question a lot and I can't believe I'm just now answering it. Anyway, thanks for the question. Nick Fly Fishing, my favorite Albanian, wants to know if I've ever fished in the Amazon, and I have not. I would like to fish in the Amazon, the peacock bass, all that other stuff sounds pretty amazing. So if somebody's got an inside line on a cool trip in the Amazon, let me know. Who knows? Maybe I'll do it. All right, this is a good one from Bill Richardson Photography, and this is about deer hair versus foam. And Bill says, I use deer hair bass topwater flies, but you use that foam popper of yours. Is there a difference between the performance in one or the other, and have you noticed any difference on presentations? So I actually do like both. I fish a lot more with the foam just because it's quick and easy to tie, and I've got these flies that, you know, that work pretty well. I do like foam sometimes, especially for a frog pattern, because no matter how much you waterproof it, it'll soak up a little bit more water and it lands with a little bit more of a splat. That's why my foam frog actually has some pretty water absorbent materials on the underside to kind of mimic that. You know, if you've ever seen a frog dive into the water, they make a pretty good splash when they first hit the water. And I think that deer hair does a really good job of imitating that. Now, you know, there are some other advantages of the deer hair. I like a lot of times for my top waters to dive a little bit when you strip them and you pop them. And the deer hair does that a lot better than the foam. Now, some of the things I like about the foam versus deer hair is typically the foam flies are going to be lighter, you know, from the start, and also lighter after you've cast a few times because they don't soak up water. So they're typically going to be a little bit easier to cast. And if you really want them to stay on top, they will, because the foam is not going to soak up water and start sinking. So there's some differences. The deer hair flies are definitely better looking. You know, the foam's kind of ugly, but day in and day out, I'm probably going to go with the foam first, deer hair second. And a lot of that is just because I'm a lot better with foam than I am with deer hair. Thanks for the question. All right, Cody Grant wants to know, when should you replace your old fly line with a new fly line? And for me, I use my lines quite a bit, because my clients use them and we're fishing with them, day after day. And typically what happens is one of two things. Either you'll notice the line starting to sink, and a lot of times you can mitigate that by, just cleaning the line. But once it gets to the point to where even after you cleaned it, it's starting to sink. And the other thing is the plastic will just start cracking because of exposure to the sun. So if it's sinking, if it's got cracks in it, or if it is coiled and really does not want to uncoil. So those are probably 3 signs that you need to get a new fly line. Definitely if it's cracked, if it starts sinking and you can't clean it, and if it's coiled up and you can't uncoil it. Time to get a new line, which is both good and bad. When you get that new line, it's so much difference. It's so nice to have a fresh line that slides through your guides, but fly lines have gotten pretty expensive. So I usually use mine until they're pretty much used up. All right, thanks for that question. Okay, so I'm about to screw this name up really bad. Having Gonson 24. Sorry about that. That was terrible pronunciation. But the question is, what do you look for in a productive redfish flat in an area with more weightable flats than you know what to do with, such as Laguna Madre? So what am I going to look for, or what am I going to target on an endless redfish flat, which we have a lot of those on the Texas coast? So if I'm waiting, or even if I'm in the boat pushing around, if there's no obvious depression, structures, reefs, stuff like that, of course we'll look for that first. The other thing I'm going to look for is a shoreline. Shorelines are great. Redfish patrol shorelines a lot of the time, and if I have nowhere else to go to, everything else looks the same, I'm just going to hit the nearest shoreline and hug that shoreline looking for cruising fish. The other thing besides, like I said, depressions or reefs or obvious structure is just going to be the creeks that are leading in and out of the flat, or the edges, the drop-offs into the deeper water. Because fish will use those areas for moving onto the flat or moving off of the flat, especially if there's tidal movement, because that's going to be pushing water in or out of these creeks, or pushing water in or out of the deeper water. And when the water's pushing, that's going to push bait fish around, and the predators are going to be looking for the helpless bait that's getting pushed around by the current. So shorelines or areas with current, creeks, drop-offs, that type of stuff. Hope that helps. It can be intimidating out there because there's a lot of water, and especially on just a wide open flat, it all kind of looks the same unless there's something obvious. If there's something obvious, you're probably already fishing that. So thanks for that question. Okay, another tough name and a good question. This is from Biggie Papatois. I hope that's right. But the question is, hey Alvin, I am very new to fly fishing and am frankly overwhelmed by the amount of content. I have conventionally fished for 40 years, but do not understand how to pick a fly for the conditions I am fishing. When fishing bass, I might use a spinnerbait or plastic worm, etc. Is there a simple way to understand what 3 or 4 flies I should start with when trying to catch Central Texas bass? I live in Austin, fishing freshwater lakes and streams, not asking about saltwater. Thanks for your feedback. Thanks for the feedback you can share. All right, so that one is actually pretty easy, and the fact that you're fishing rivers especially makes it even easier. I feel pretty confident just going out with, I'd say, maybe 6 flies, so if it's warm enough, some type of top water, some type of slow sinking fly, like a deer hair streamer, some type of leechy looking pattern, like a woolly booger or something like that, and then some type of quick sinking streamer, like a clouser. So if you look in my box, the flies that I'm gonna grab most often, if it's warm, is a popper, various colors. I like green, that would probably be my go-to. Then a clouser, chartreuse and white clouser, some kind of black woolly booger looking pattern, and a crawfish, something that sinks pretty quickly. And that'll cover most of your bases. It's amazing how many variety of flies there are out there. And if you really want to get technical, you can really do a deep dive into all the different patterns and everything that's representing, especially if you do a lot of trout fishing. But bass fishing and trout fishing, in a lot of circumstances, if you get a handful of flies, 5 or 6 flies that you feel confident fishing, usually you're going to be able to catch all the fish you want to catch. And it's just a process of experimentation until you figure out exactly what flies you feel comfortable throwing out there, because you know they'll catch fish. But the good thing is you're going to be out there on the water fishing while you're learning this stuff, and that's always a good time. Thanks for the question. All right, so I alluded to this at the start. This is a question from Big Sky Outdoors, and the question is, if you could fish only one place for the rest of your life, where would it be? And that's easy. I'd fish in Texas. Now, I hope you weren't trying to get me to limit that to one place, because that would be really hard. But Texas qualifies as one place, right? I mean, I say this all the time, but you know, the home waters are the best waters, the ones that you know the best, the ones that you have spent the most time on. You made these memories, you've learned a lot of skills, and Texas is great. We got fresh water, we got salt water, we got small streams, we got big rivers. And I know I've said this before, if I was forced to only fish in Texas for the rest of my life, I would be completely happy. And that is 100% true. All right, y'all, we're gonna wrap it up on that one. I wanna thank y'all for playing along, you know, asking me these questions, watching these videos. I wanna remind you again, if you haven't, go and sign up for my email list and make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have not given that trip away yet. We're going to give everybody an opportunity to sign up. So, you know, sometime here in the next week or so. Another thing I never talk about, but you know, I got merch. We got All Water Guides, hats, buffs, stickers, all kinds of stuff. If you want to help support me and what I'm trying to do, you can buy some of that stuff. There's links in the descriptions to all that gear. Yeah, I am enjoying this journey, this YouTube thing. I'm liking this more and more because you guys are just making it more and more fun. I'm getting better at it, I think. I appreciate the positive feedback that y'all are sending me. And yeah, hopefully I will see you in the next video. And in the meantime, good luck on the water.